Welcome to the Executive Insights podcast, brought to you by AWS, where we address vital questions and share unique perspectives from leaders at the intersection of business and technology.
Hello, this is Tanuja Randery, Managing Director, Europe, Middle East and Africa for Amazon Web Services. Welcome to another episode of Executive Insights, our CEO series. In this series, I will be speaking with CEOs from across the EMEA region about what it takes to transform business and society, how they are leveraging data and technology to accelerate growth and innovate, and their insights on topics such as sustainability and addressing the digital skills gap. We will also be providing a glimpse into the personalities behind some of our great leaders of industry. Every day, global markets move trillions of dollars, and one investor manages close to 2 trillion on behalf of Norway. The Norges Bank Investment Management, or NBIM, the country's sovereign wealth fund, with stakes in close to 9,000 companies and about 1.5% of all listed equities worldwide. Its influence and impact is extraordinary. At the center, of course, of how it runs is today's guest. After a long career in finance, she now serves as Chief Technology and Operations Officer, spearheading NBIM's push into artificial intelligence, while helping to safeguard and grow Norway's resource wealth for future generations. And when she's not doing that, you might just find her singing on stage with NBIM's internal band, Reputational Risk. She's also been described by some as the coolest girl in global finance. Birgitte Bryne, welcome to Executive Insights. I'm so excited to be talking with you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited too. Great honor.
You're the joint CTO and COO of the world's largest sovereign wealth fund. That is a long way from what most people's career plans probably started off, maybe even yours, right? And it's not a small stage. Did you ever imagine yourself here?
I can answer no to that question. I never thought of myself as that at all. I think that for me, as for many other people in the world that has a career, it is sometimes about chance too, right? You experience a lot of things that steers you into a direction. For me, ending up in finance was like pure chance. I was working in a consultant firm. I was working in KPMG, and by chance I ended up in a project with this investment bank, and I never left. But that said, when I came into finance, I thought it was like such an exciting place to be. Understanding how markets just like gets affected about absolutely everything that happens in the world. I love the culture. I love the competitive environment. I love the direct tone. I love the speed of it. I just loved it. So I kind of just embraced it. And for me, it has just been about that, embracing any role that I was put in and being curious about all the things that I was not necessarily part of my responsibility. I ended up in the roles that the company wanted me to do and just embraced it all. And at the end of the day, you just suddenly find yourself in a situation where you just know a lot.
I think picking up all of those different experiences across different parts of not only NBIM, I mean, I know you were at SEB as well, and you've had a long career in the industry. I think building up all of those different muscles, you could do any role really, because you've kind of gained that experience rather than just siloed in one area for very long. I mean, it sounds like that was something that really made a huge difference.
To me, it was. And it's also kind of the advice that I give to young people. They're so eager to plan their career. And I'm just like, don't do that. Just do the best you can wherever you are at that particular time. And it will come.
Maybe just building on, again, just the scale of what you're doing and the strategy that you're overseeing overall. I mean, the scale is incredible, 1.9 trillion across 700 employees, 4 global offices. How do you balance innovation on the one hand? And then at the same time, you need to obviously have all that resilience, as you say, the reputational impacts, etc. How do you do both?
Honest answer from us or me would be that we try to manage innovation in a way that you blend disciplined pragmatism, I would say, with calculated experimentation. And I think that we have learned that through experience, rather than just like having this like perfect playbook from day one. And I think that we operate with strong guardrails, more than like this very rigid gates. We don't have like a 50 steps approval process, for instance. It's more like, because we don't want to kill innovation in any way. So what we rather do is like, we have some non-negotiable guardrails which is about like separation of environments, comprehensive testing for really core processes, and an ability to roll back if it doesn't work. Other than that, we really try to, let people loose in a way. With that said, it's important also to think about stability in the way that to secure stability, you can't be static because the environment around you changes.
Yes, especially now.
Especially now. The global situation changes. The infrastructure around us changes, so we have to be able to adapt to that in a way that's controlled. And that's basically, I think, what it is for us. And then again, it comes down to the people. You have to have experienced people that understands when you can just push on the gas pedal and when you need to step on the brakes a bit. So those things together, I believe that's what kind of is part of our culture, important way of our thinking.
I understand, and correct me if I get this wrong, but I understand you're doing some work with the Stockholm School of Economics to study psychological safety and resilience among investment professionals, and then really using sports psychology to strengthen your performance culture. I mean, this is cool. I think there's so much actually in sports to take away from.
So I think that in general, resilience is important, and in finance, even more important, particularly because you are in a situation where markets change and people can get into this panicking kind of feeling. To be able to stand up for your opinions long term through the times, it's painful. It's super painful. So yeah, we spend a lot of time talking about it. And as you mentioned, we have coaches, sport coaches internally that helps people train to be a resilient person when things are getting rough around you. And that goes with technology as well. You want to push the boundaries a bit and take some chances if you want to be able to move into the next step and be part of a modern transformation.
Yes. And I think one of the other things you say, we want people to speak their minds. We want people to disagree and commit. We want them to hold, convicted about what they're saying and thinking, but based on data. I know that you've said many a time, NBIM is 100% driven by data. What does that look like in practice inside the world's largest sovereign wealth fund? And what have you learned maybe personally, Birgitte, about building a culture where data is the foundation of your decision-making?
I can at least start by saying that no one makes decisions purely on their gut feeling in NBIM. So you have to back it up with data. And data empowers people. And when you have that as the backbone of the organization, you will also have a lot of opinions around data. How should it be structured? How should it be built? What kind of data should we measure our performance on? And what should we take into consideration when we make decisions? But in practice, it is about quality and availability in my sense. And that is kind of our culture. I believe that quality and availability, know where to find it, make sure that you have tested it, make sure that you have the quality that you need long-term also, not just here and now, but also long-term. We are a long-term fund. We measure our historical performance, and that is important also for how we make our future decisions.
And I know that you are really, really driving to how do you use, and very ambitious actually, your CEO in particular, about how do you adopt AI on top of, as you say, modernized, clean data to be able to give you that advantage for the future. If you could share a little bit about how you and NBIM are thinking about generative AI and where you are starting to really see it provide you with, outcomes, real outcomes.
For us, we don't use it as a stock picking tool as of yet. And I'm not really sure if we will ever do that. To us, it is an additional tool to help you make good decisions. A very powerful analytical tool where you're able to translate a lot of more data and data sources than we were previously. And all our trading, we do large trades. So if we can in any way predict what that's going to be the next week, next 2 weeks, we can prevent a lot of our trading. We don't have to go to the market because we can cross a lot of trades internally. That is one of the things that we really see big results and big cost savings.
We also believe really strongly AI will be a super, super augmentation tool and really unleash productivity, but not only productivity, innovation, by being kind of your assistant, particularly in the age of agentic AI. And saying agentic systems can be really helpful to experienced individuals, but also inexperienced individuals, right? In making not only gut decisions, to your point, but data-driven decisions. I understand there's something called the investment simulator that you've built.
Yeah, so the simulator is precisely about what we just talked about. So it is about being able to look at your transactions after you have actually done them, to analyze whether or not that was like based on psychological feelings when you made a decision, or if it was purely analytical, and how did that play out? So that is kind of the very interesting part of how we evaluate our own performance. And based on that and historical facts and an AI, the tool will provide you with a flag of information whenever you are about to make a trade that you usually lost money on. So the idea is then that you will stop and think and look into the decisions that you previously made, and maybe you will rethink your decision based on that. And then we also use it to look into it and then afterwards when we measure the performance of each individual portfolio managers on the active side.
I mean, we all say learn from your mistakes, right? If you're not failing and you're not experimenting, you're never going to be phenomenal. But having those kind of tools, I mean, you can see the power of this to make human beings unleash their full potential, right? I mean, it's very, very cool.
We hope you're enjoying this discussion. To join the conversation and engage with other business leaders on these topics, follow AWS Executive Insights on LinkedIn.
I did want to also pick up, because there's so much involved in terms of, with NBIM in particular, in Norway, I'm sure there's a lot of public scrutiny, right, as well. And transparency, I understand, is a big part of your culture too, which I love. So how do you enable every citizen to have what they need to have? And at the same time, of course, there's a lot of stake in terms of decision you make, and there's a lot of confidentiality and regulation. Maybe talk a little bit about how you balance those two sides of what you have to be.
The basis for everything we do is that we'll be transparent as long as we can, as long as we don't have like rules and regulations that prevent us from sharing information. So that's the basis. When you have such a transparency, and also being a public sovereign wealth fund, there is, as you say, a lot of scrutiny on us. It's important that every decision we make can tolerate to be viewed in a public forum. That sharpens the internal environment, of course. You rethink a lot of things, and we are dependent upon the public trust in everything we do. And if we lose that trust, we might even lose the mandate, to be honest. So we can't lose that. So I think that at the same time, we can't have like a fund that is run by the public of each and every person's random opinion. So we can't have that either. So it is about like transforming all of those things into something that we can stand for, and that we are being true to the mission and the mandate that we've gotten from the Parliament and the Ministry of Finance in Norway.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think the other thing that makes you very unique with respect to the public is, you know, we've often seen that when organizations like yours are role modeling the leverage that you're getting from technology, what you're doing from a talent perspective, how you think about, you know, as you say, regulation and security, it really has a domino effect in societies, right? So there's also this incredible like responsibility and accountability that comes, right, for being also the thing that people look up to, which is exciting and scary, I'm sure, at the same time.
I think that all of us working in NBIM feels that responsibility. That is like something that we carry on our shoulders, but it also kind of makes us proud, right? It makes us proud because we have this mission and we want to fulfill it in a good way. So in that sense, yeah, I think you're right. It is something that differs us from a lot of companies and a culture.
And maybe picking up on that, part of what I think you've also been just incredible to be the world's best investment manager, but also to be the most diverse and inclusive, because diversity drives performance, I'm sure, right? Maybe share a little bit with us, you know, about just your personal perspectives on diversity as a contributor to your long-term success, and also some of the things you're doing to really enable that within an industry that maybe hasn't always had that be the first thing, right, that you would think about for that industry.
In my view, when you invest in like 70 countries, you have to understand as much as possible. And for us to, for instance, have employees from, I think it's like 35 countries or something now, that's a very important contributor to understand those markets and to understand the social culture of those particular countries. And, not being diverse is increasing the risk in the portfolios, right? And then you have people around you that can actually understand what is going on in the various societies. That's very, very important. I think for me, in NBIM, it is such a big part of us that I don't even think about it anymore, to be honest. People come from different culture, and that's what makes NBIM today. That's what drives us, really.
No, it does. And, look, you were also, I think, one of the founding partners behind Norway's Women in Finance Charter, which I think is also, super important, again, both for the next generation, but also the current generation. Maybe if you could share a little bit about, a couple of the initiatives maybe that you're driving. What one or two things are you doing that really helps people get excited about being there, feeling like they're growing, belonging, connected?
So that I think that one of the things that are very important is that we are catering for people and women to be able to have a family in addition to have a career. That is important for people to be able to have a career, and a lot of females also want to be a mother. What I say to females all the time is that you should stop feeling bad all the time. It's typical for women to feel bad all the time. So they feel bad when they're not at work because they should have been at work. And they feel bad when they're not with their families because they feel that they should have been with their families. But I think it's about being 100% where you are at that particular time. So when you leave work, be with your family. And when you leave home, be at work. And then when people we have long maternity leaves in Norway, almost for a year. We keep close contact with our females when they're on maternity leaves so that they want to come back, so that they still feel that is something that they want to come back to, even when they're kind of jumping into the role as a model. So I think those are the things that we work on the most.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, my gosh, I know what you mean. There's always a little bit of regret in something, and actually just being here, doing what you have. Even if you're part-time working, don't start to do a full-time job when you're part-time. And, I love that. It's such great advice. I'm going to remember it and take it away because I know you and I probably still do a little bit of that, despite our kids having grown up. Now it's about, parents and aging families. So there's always something, right, in your life. How do you, by the way, if I may ask you a personal question, how do you think about work-life balance today now for yourself?
So now when I don't have children anymore, of course, I don't have to really think about that so much anymore. And I enjoy being at my job, I must say. There's so much going on and I really want to participate in a lot of things all the time. So that's on me, right? That said, it is not a goal for me to be in the office as much as possible. And it's not a goal for me to have my heads under me being at the office as much as possible. And that goes for the entire firm. I truly believe that if you have a proper work-life balance, you will do a better job.
I like that. It's very impact-oriented rather than activity-driven. And I think that's so important. And, you said the points you made about, I love what I do. I love being here. I want to participate. Each individual in some way has to decide what balance means to them.
Absolutely. And I think that, as you say, everyone needs to figure out what that means to you. And it changes over time. It changes with where you are in life as well.
I think the important thing is that you're finding time to replenish, learn, downtime. It's so important. It gives you reflection moments. I think we all, as leaders in any part of our career, need reflection moments, to be better. Particularly in the world that we live in these days, which is changing so fast, so dramatically, so quickly. The speed of adoption that we're seeing on this technology and the geopolitical environment. I mean, there's just so much going on around us right now. I know that, again, you at NBIM, yourself, your CEO, the whole management team are really all over this when it comes to AI. I think your CEO, I'm trying to remember the quote. I know it was a Richard Baldwin quote.
Yeah, he says that you're not going to be replaced by AI, but you will be replaced by someone who uses AI.
Yes, that's exactly the right quote. AI won't take a job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. You have been at NBIM, just moving to that, if I may, on a digital transformation journey for some time, whether that be the adoption of cloud, whether that be the adoption of specific applications and solutions that make each investment professional's job better and easier, now much more into agentic, as we were discussing earlier. Maybe talk a little bit about that journey, that digital transformation journey, from the perspective of, people listening in. What were some of the learnings along the way? And what do you think really helped you go so fast, if I might say, down that path?
I think that, first of all, to always have a top management that supports transformation is super important. I think it's very difficult to do it without that. Also for us, we have this advantage of being long-term, and that also is important on the technology journey that we're constantly on. We have time and money to invest in really top-notch technology, really top-notch platforms, as AWS has been for us. AWS has given us the opportunity to be scalable, more secure, modern. We would not have been able to go on our AI journey without it. When we went to cloud, public cloud, 100% with you in 2019, other financial firms were like, wow, really? And we were like, it's the only sensible thing to do. So having the courage to be a bit like a first mover is necessary sometimes.
Gosh, that's a masterclass, what you've just said around top-down commitment, being bold, almost kind of looking forward and imagining yourself before you make the transition. You have the vision, and then you just go at speed to execute it. You only have 700 people managing 1.9 trillion. I mean, you're very lean, and part of it is probably that, I'm sure, the technology investments that you've made, right?
Absolutely. And then remember also, Norway has a big portion of pragmatism. We dare to take some chances. We do that, and that has helped us as well. But I mean, if we hadn't done those technology steps as we have during the years, we would not have been able to run the fund with 700 people. It would have been impossible. I mean, we always have to cater for scale, and it would be impossible without using modern technology. Totally impossible.
I think that's something I always, when I'm talking to startups and things is, how do you maintain that spirit of experimentation, as we were talking earlier, trialing things, innovating with things, and at the same time keeping scale in mind at all times, because otherwise you end up with lots of little ways of doing probably some wonderful things, but none of it would scale. And I think that's something that I think you've done. You've got the scale, you're driving cost efficiencies, you're driving effectiveness of your professionals, results for the Norwegian people as part of that. And you're experimenting too, as I can see with some of the tools that we've talked about today. So that balance, again, is hard, but I think a very big contributor to what you've been able to achieve.
It is hard, and I'm not going to sit here and say that we have figured it all out, because we haven't, and sometimes we make mistakes, and sometimes we have evaluated things in the wrong way. But we put our effort into our core processes. We always put our effort into our core processes, and that is our investment and trading processes. That's where we have all our guardrails as well. And then we can experiment in other areas, and when they are ready, we can put it into the core processes. So that's the way we do it. And that has been successful for us.
No, that's great. So one last question. You've just had an incredible career, and there's going to be so much more, I know, to come. Was there one crucible moment that really defined your leadership style and made a real difference to your journey, your success?
I always had a father who encouraged me to do my best. I think that has been one of the defining things about me, that trying to do my best and always try to make a difference where I am at all times. And while on my watch, in a way, I want to try to do my best. A second thing that I think about a lot is that I had a manager once, very early in my career, that said to me, whenever you have difficulties and making a decision, you have to make a difficult decision. And that is, in many cases, about specific people and processes and something else. He said to me, just take a step back and always think about what is best for the company. And if you always think about what is going to be the best option for the company long term, you will always make the right decision. That is an advice I've brought with me through my entire career. And I think it's a great advice. Really.
What a wonderful place to stop. I mean, this has been a really, really, really fun, really warm conversation. Thank you so much for giving me your time, for sharing so openly. I know there's a long journey ahead in your career, and I can't wait to just keep watching what you do.
And we'll stay in touch, Tanuja. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Executive Insights, brought to you by AWS. If you enjoyed this episode, help us spread the word by rating and reviewing. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.